Thanksgiving night, my family kicked me out. Not after a fight. Not after an argument. Just like that. One moment I was sitting at the table. The next I was standing outside, with my bag in my hands. No one stopped me. No one said anything. They just watched. Like I didn't belong there anymore. I thought that was the worst part. Losing my family in one night. But I was wrong. Because 12 hours later, everything changed. Everything collapsed. And the same people who threw me out were suddenly the ones begging for answers. They thought they had all the control. They thought I had nothing left. But they had no idea what was about to happen next. Thanksgiving had always been the one day my family pretended everything was perfect. Same house, same table, same traditions. Every single year. My mom would start cooking early in the morning, filling the house with that familiar smell that was supposed to mean comfort. My dad would sit at the head of the table, controlling the conversation like he always did. And the rest of us, we just played our roles. Smiling, nodding, keeping things smooth. From the outside, it looked like the kind of family people envied. Big dinners, loud laughter, pictures posted online with captions about gratitude and togetherness. But inside that house, things worked differently. There were rules. Unspoken ones. You didn't question decisions. You didn't challenge authority. And you definitely didn't go against what my dad called the family plan. For years, I followed those rules. I stayed quiet. Went along with things I didn't fully agree with. Because that's what kept the peace. But a few months before that Thanksgiving, something changed. I made a decision on my own. One they didn't approve of. And from that moment, I wasn't treated like part of the family anymore. At first, it was subtle. Shorter conversations. Less eye contact. Plans I wasn't included in. Then it got more obvious. Conversations would stop when I entered the room. Decisions were made without me, even when they affected me directly. And no one explained anything. They didn't have to. Because the message was clear. I had stepped out of line. And now, I was being pushed out. Slowly. Quietly. Until Thanksgiving night. When everything finally came to the surface. The truth is, that night didn't come out of nowhere. It had been building for months. Ever since I said no. No to the deal. No to the plan. No to something my dad had already decided was going to happen with or without me. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. Just a disagreement. Something families work through. But in my family, disagreement wasn't normal. It was defiance. And defiance had consequences. The deal he wanted me to join wasn't small. It involved money. A lot of it. Investments, partnerships, contracts. All of it moving fast. Too fast. And the more I looked into it, the more something felt off. Numbers didn't line up. Details were vague. Questions went unanswered. So I asked more questions. And that's when things started to shift. My dad stopped explaining. My mom started avoiding the topic. And every time I brought it up, I was shut down. You're overthinking. You don't understand how this works. Just trust us. But trust doesn't come from silence. It comes from clarity. And there was none. So I made my decision. I stepped back. I told them I wasn't getting involved. That I wasn't signing anything. And that was the moment everything changed. Not instantly, but slowly, in ways that were impossible to ignore. Family dinners became uncomfortable. My opinions stopped mattering. I went from being part of the conversation to being completely left out of it. And no one said it out loud, but I could feel it. I wasn't on their side anymore, which in that house meant I wasn't really part of the family. Then came the final blow. About 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I found out they had moved forward with a deal. Without me. Signed everything. Finalized it. As if my involvement had never mattered. As if I had never been part of it in the first place. I remember standing there, holding the papers. Realizing something I hadn't fully accepted until that moment. This wasn't about what was best. This wasn't about family. This was about control. And the second I refused to follow, they replaced me, erased me, and carried on. Like I didn't exist. That's when I understood. Thanksgiving wasn't going to be a normal dinner. It was going to be a conclusion. A decision already made, waiting to be delivered. And deep down, even before I walked into that house that night, I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. Because no matter how clear things become, there's always a part of you that hopes. Family won't go that far. But mine did. And that night, they made it official. By the time Thanksgiving night arrived, I already felt it. That quiet tension in the air. The kind you can't explain, but you can't ignore either. The house looked the same. Lights on. Table set. Food laid out like every other year. But something was different. Subtle, but obvious once you noticed it. There were fewer chairs at the table. One less place setting than usual. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they were still setting up. But no one moved to fix it. No one said anything. They just continued. Like it was intentional. Like it was planned. I walked in, greeted everyone, tried to act normal. But the conversations felt off. Short. Careful. People avoiding eye contact. My mom barely looked at me. My dad didn't say a word. And the rest of the family. They knew. You could see it. In the way they avoided certain topics. In the way conversations stopped when I got close. Like there was something hanging in the air. Waiting. I told myself to get through the night. Just one dinner. Sit down. Eat. Leave. No drama. No confrontation. But deep down, I knew it wasn't going to be that simple. Because everything about that night felt staged. Like a setup. Like everyone already knew how it was going to end. Except me. And then dinner started. Plates passed around. Small talk filling the silence. But it wasn't real conversation. It was filler. Distraction. Something to delay what was coming. I barely touched my food. I was too busy watching. Noticing. Connecting things I had ignored before. The missing chair. The silence. The tension. The looks. It all pointed to one thing. This wasn't just a family dinner. This was a decision. Already made. Already agreed on. And I was about to hear it. Not as part of the conversation, but as the subject of it. And then, halfway through the meal, my dad put his fork down. And the room went completely quiet. That sound, that small, simple movement, felt louder than anything else that night. Because in that moment, I knew. Whatever was about to happen. There was no going back from it. The moment my dad put his fork down, everything stopped. No more small talk. No more pretending. Just silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. He looked straight at me. Not angry. Not emotional. Just cold. Like this was already decided. Like this wasn't a discussion. We need to talk, he said. And even though his voice was calm, every word felt final. I didn't respond. I just sat there, waiting. Because something in me already knew what was coming. He leaned back slightly, folded his hands, and continued. You've made things difficult for this family. Difficult. That word hit harder than anything else. Not wrong. Not concerned. Just inconvenient. Like I was a problem that needed to be handled. My mom didn't look at me. She kept her eyes on her plate. And everyone else. They stayed quiet. No one interrupted. No one questioned him. Because this wasn't new to them. This was expected. We gave you an opportunity, he continued. And you chose to walk away from it. I finally spoke. I chose not to be part of something that didn't make sense. My voice was steady. But the room shifted instantly. You could feel it. The tension tightening. My dad's expression didn't change. But his tone did. Sharper now. More direct. You don't get to decide that, he said. Not when it affects all of us. That's when I realized. This was never about the deal. This was about control. About obedience. About whether I followed the plan or not. And I hadn't. So now, I was the problem. If you're not willing to support this family, he said slowly, then you're not part of it. There it was. Clear. Direct. Final. No confusion. No misunderstanding. Just a line drawn right in front of everyone. I looked around the table. At the people who had been in my life for years. And not one of them said anything. Not one. They just sat there. Watching it happen. Accepting it. Like this was normal. Like I was supposed to just take it. And then came the last sentence. The one that ended everything. You need to leave. Just like that. No hesitation. No emotion. Just a command. For a second, I didn't move. I think part of me was waiting for someone to speak up, to say something, to stop it. But no one did. Not my mom. Not anyone. So I stood up, slowly, pushed my chair back, and walked away from the table. No yelling. No scene. Just silence. The same silence they had used to push me out, now following me out the door. And as I stepped outside into the cold, I realized something. They thought this was the end. They thought they had removed the problem. But what they didn't understand was, they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. And in less than 12 hours, they were going to find out exactly why. I stood outside that room, the same bag still in my hand, listening to their voices through the door, laughing, talking, acting like nothing had happened. To them, I was already gone, forgotten, erased. But this time, I wasn't there to ask for a place back. I was there to show them the consequences of what they had done. I slowly opened the door and stepped inside. Everyone was sitting around the table, completely at ease. The mood was warm, normal, like it was just another perfect Thanksgiving evening. The moment they saw me, the room shifted. Not completely, but enough. A few people froze. Some looked away. Others pretended I wasn't even there. I walked straight toward the table and stopped in front of them. I pulled out my phone and unlocked a file. "You all think I left last night for no reason," I said calmly. My voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. There was something in it, controlled, steady, and that made everyone more uncomfortable than anger ever could. What you don't realize is, when you kicked me out, I didn't leave empty-handed. I paused for a second, letting that sink in. While you were busy celebrating, I was making sure I had everything I needed. The room went quiet. Conversations stopped completely. Now all eyes were on me. I turned the screen toward them. "See this? This contract you signed, the one you never bothered to read, the one where my name was used without my consent." I zoomed in slowly, making sure every detail was visible. I have the original copy, along with proof of everything behind it. People at the table started shifting in their seats. The confusion was turning into something else, something heavier. "And that's not all," I continued. "Every transaction you thought was hidden, every move you thought no one would trace." I tapped the screen again, bringing up another file. Bank records, emails, timestamps, clear evidence. Has already been documented. Now the atmosphere in the room had completely changed. The same people who ignored me yesterday were now watching me like they didn't recognize me at all. Fear had replaced comfort. Silence had replaced laughter. I looked each of them in the eye and said, "You didn't just kick me out. You made a decision without thinking about the consequences." I leaned slightly forward. "And now, you're going to have to face them." The room stayed silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The same people who were laughing just minutes ago were now staring at the table, avoiding eye contact like they were trying to disappear. I took a slow step back, holding my phone in my hand. I didn't need to raise my voice anymore. I didn't need to prove anything further. Everything I came here to show had already been said. "You made your choice yesterday," I said calmly. "Today, you're just living with it. No anger. No shouting. Just truth." I turned around and started walking toward the door. Each step felt different from the last time I left, because this time, I wasn't being thrown out. I was walking out on my own terms. No one stopped me. No one called my name. And that silence said everything. As I reached the door, I paused for a brief second, not to look back, but to accept something simple. Sometimes, the biggest revenge isn't destruction, it's clarity. It's letting people realize what they lost, when it's already too late. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. For the first time since Thanksgiving night, I didn't feel like I had lost a family. I felt like I had finally found my freedom.